The night before she left for Everest, her 11-year-old son woke up screaming. He had dreamed of two climbers trapped on a mountain, buried in white, unable to escape. He called his mother. He begged her not to go. And Francys Arsentiev said 5 words that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "I have to do this." She did it. She reached the summit of Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen on May 22, 1998, the first American woman to do so. And then she tried to come back down, and she never made it. For 2 days, climbers walked past her body on the northeast ridge. Some thought she was dead, some knew she was alive. One team stopped, gave her oxygen, tried to carry her, and then left her. Because they had to. And then her husband, who had already made it down safely, turned around, went back up into the death zone with oxygen and medicine to save her. And he died too. This is the story of Francys and Sergei Arsentiev, the love story that ended at 8,600 meters. And the body that lay visible on Everest for 9 years, earning the name that no parent should ever have to hear attached to their mother, Sleeping Beauty. Before I continue, if this is your first time on this channel, I cover the real stories behind the world's deadliest mountains. I research every detail, I verify every fact, and I tell these stories with the respect they deserve. If you think that matters, hit subscribe and the notification bell. It takes 1 second, and it is the reason this channel exists. Thank you. Frances Yarbrough de Stefano was born on January 18, 1958, in Honolulu, Hawaii. She was not a professional climber. She worked in finance. She studied business at the University of Louisville and Colorado State University. She was a mother to a boy named Paul, and she loved the outdoors. In 1992, she married Sergei Arsentiev, a Russian mountaineer known in the climbing world as the Snow Leopard, an honorary title given to those who have summited all 5 peaks above 7,000 meters in the former Soviet Union. Sergei was elite, Francys was determined, and together, they became a formidable team. They climbed Denali via the West Buttress. They climbed Pic Lenin in Central Asia. They made the first ascent of Peak 5,800 meters in Russia, which they named Peak Goodwill. Francys became the first American woman to ski down Mount Elbrus, the highest peak in Europe. And then she set her sights on Everest, without oxygen. Her son Paul later said, "I do not know why she decided she had to do it without oxygen, but I think she felt like she needed to prove something." In May 1998, Francys and Sergei arrived at Everest Base Camp on the north side, in Tibet. No supplemental oxygen, no Sherpa support team, just the two of them against the mountain. The ascent was not smooth. On May 17th, they began climbing from the North Col. By May 18th, they had reached 7,700 meters. By May 19th, they were at 8,200 meters at Camp 6. And on May 20th, they launched their first summit attempt. It failed. Their headlamps died in the dark. They could not see the route. They turned back. On May 21st, they tried again, climbed 50 to 100 meters above Camp 6, and turned back again. Too exhausted, too slow, not enough margin. 2 failed attempts. 2 days of wasted energy at 8,000 meters. 2 days of oxygen debt that their bodies would never recover from. And on May 22nd, they tried a third time, and they made it. Francys Arsentiev stood on the summit of Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen, the first American woman to do so, at 40 years old, after 2 failed attempts, with her husband beside her. And then they had to go down. And going down is where people die. They were late, desperately late. The summit push had taken too long. The 2 failed attempts had drained their reserves. And now, descending in the dark, without oxygen, exhausted beyond measure, they made the mistake that would cost both of them their lives. They got separated, in the dark, above 8,000 meters, without supplemental oxygen. Sergei made it down to the high camp. Francys did not. When Sergei arrived at camp and realized his wife was not there, he knew. He knew she was somewhere above him. alone, without oxygen, in the dark. On the morning of May 23rd, an Uzbek team climbing toward the summit encountered Francys near the south summit. She was half conscious, affected by severe frostbite, hypothermia, and hypoxia. She could not move on her own. She could not stand. The Uzbek climbers stopped. They gave her oxygen. They tried to carry her down. For hours, they dragged and supported a woman who could barely hold her head up at an altitude where every step requires superhuman effort. And then their oxygen ran out, and their strength ran out. And they had to make the decision that every climber on Everest fears. They left her. That evening, as the Uzbek climbers descended, they passed a man climbing up, alone, at 8:40 in the evening, going the wrong direction, up, not down, into the death zone, not out of it. It was Sergey. He was carrying an oxygen tank and medicine. He was going back for his wife. He never came back. On May 23rd, later that same day, South African climbers Ian Woodall and Kathy O'Dowd were making their own summit attempt when they came across what they thought was a dead body on the ridge, a figure in a purple jacket lying on its side. And then the body moved, a violent spasm, and they realized the woman was alive. And then they got closer, and O'Dowd recognized her. Francys Arsentiev had been in their tent at base camp, drinking tea, talking about her son, talking about home. O'Dowd later said she was not an obsessive type of climber. She spoke a lot about her son and home. They tried to help her for hours. They gave her what oxygen they had. They tried to get her to stand. They talked to her. And Francys spoke. Her words, as reported by multiple sources, were these: "Do not leave me. Why are you doing this to me? I am an American." Those were among the last coherent words Francys Arsentiev ever spoke. Woodall and O'Dowd could not save her. They could not carry her. At 8,600 meters, on a narrow ridge, with their own oxygen running low and daylight fading, they had to choose between dying with her and living without her. They left. Francys Arsentiev died on May 24, 1998, alone, on the northeast ridge of Mount Everest, clipped to a guide rope, lying on her side in a purple jacket and red climbing pants. And for 9 years, every climber who took the North Col route to the summit of Everest walked past her body. She lay on her side as if sleeping, her features preserved by the cold, smooth, calm, almost peaceful. And climbers who passed her gave her a name that captured the terrible beauty of her death: Sleeping Beauty. For 9 years, her 11-year-old son, now a teenager, now a young man, lived with the knowledge that photographs of his mother's frozen body were circulating on the internet, that strangers were posting images of her death, that she had become a landmark on the route to the summit, not a person, a waypoint. In 2007, Ian Woodall, the same man who had tried to save her in '98, returned to Everest. He led an expedition called the Tao of Everest with one purpose: to give Francys Arsentiev dignity in death. On May 23, 2007, exactly 9 years after she died, Woodall and his team located her body. They wrapped her in an American flag and they moved her off the route to a place where no climber would ever have to walk past her again. And Sergey? His body was found in 1999 during the Mallory and Irvine expedition. Jake Norton discovered him lower on the north face. The evidence suggested he had fallen while climbing back up in the dark, searching for his wife. He died trying to save her. The snow leopard, who had conquered the 5 highest peaks in Russia, died on Everest because he loved his wife more than he loved his own life. And Paul DiStefano, the boy who dreamed of 2 climbers trapped in white, the boy whose mother said, "I have to do this." Paul lost both his mother and his stepfather in 48 hours on the same mountain. He was 11 years old. This story asks a question that has no good answer. What do you do when you find a dying person at 8,600 meters? You cannot carry them. You do not have enough oxygen to share. If you stay, you die too. If you leave, they die alone. There is no rescue helicopter. There is no ambulance. There is only you and them, and the mountain that does not care about either of you. The Uzbek team stopped and tried. Woodall and O'Dowd stopped and tried. Sergey went back up with oxygen and medicine. And all of them failed, not because they did not care, but because Everest does not allow second chances above 8,000 meters. Francys Arsentiev was 40 years old. She was a mother, she was a wife, she was the first American woman to summit Everest without oxygen. And she died saying, "Do not leave me." If this story stayed with you, I need your help. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share this video with one person. Just one, because these stories deserve to be told properly. Not as clickbait, not as shock content, but as what they are. The stories of real people who went to the edge of what is possible and did not come back. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.